Hello, wherever you are in the world, we are so glad that you joined us. I'm Christine Barnhart, your host for Supply Chain Unfiltered. This is where we provide a candid look at the challenges that supply chain professionals face and bring in forward thinkers and innovators to share their insights on the strategies, technologies, and collaborative efforts shaping the future of supply chain. So I want you to please take a moment before we get started and let us know where you're located today. As you can see, I'm actually in my office in Heavensville, Indiana. I know you guys don't see me here often, but I'm pretty excited about it. So let me know where you're dialing in or logging in from, showing my age there a little bit, and because we want to get to know you. So on that note, we have a really jam-packed session today, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I want to immediately bring in my guest, Mr. Conrad Mandala, EVP for Partnerships and Alliances with Kinaxis. How's it going this morning?
I am so great. That was just such a energetic and passionate start to the show. Great job, Christine.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I try. I mean, I'm a redhead. What can I say?
Good energy. Good energy is a good thing.
So it has been such a pleasure getting to know you as we strengthen the partnership between Nulogy and Kinaxis. So I would love it if you could just give the audience a little bit of your background, who you are, what you do, how you ended up at Kinaxis.
All right, thank you. First of all, thank you for the invite. It's been a great journey to arrive at Kinaxis. I've been here almost 8 years, which seems like it's been 2 years. It's been such a fast-paced growth environment. It's been so exciting. My background has been pretty much high tech for the last 25 years. I don't want to age myself too much. Can I just say 25 plus years? We'll leave it at that. I did quite a long stint in my early careers at Xerox. And then since then, it's been almost exclusively at high-tech companies. SAP for 8 years. I ran the Canadian sales operations for OpenText for 5 years, and been here for 8 years. So that journey through this digital transformation has been really cool. From the financial and controlling side at SAP, enterprise content management, and now into supply chain. And I could tell you by far the most exciting of those 3 journeys has been the supply chain journey I've been on the last 8 years.
Really? I love it. That's amazing. 8 years. I didn't realize you had been with Kinaxis quite that long.
Well,
And
2000, I got here in 2018.
Okay, so just prior to the global pandemic. Wow, that's amazing.
Indeed.
Good for you. Yeah. And you're physically located in Toronto, right?
I have the great pleasure of living in the beautiful city of Toronto, Ontario.
It's been great. I have been with Nulogy almost 3 years. I had been to Toronto, but not really spent a lot of time there previously. And over the last 3 years, since we're headquartered in Toronto, I have gotten to know the greater Toronto area and the food scene, which is pretty amazing in my opinion.
It's a great food scene, a very cosmopolitan city. I like, for our American friends, I liken it very much to a Chicago vibe. The cities look and feel very similar, and both of them have. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the city of Chicago. I have great food scenes, great cosmopolitan feel to them. I love that part of the world.
It's interesting you say that because I generally describe it as a bit of a cross between New York and Chicago, but I agree with you. It's not as it's a little more Midwest than what New York is, in my opinion.
We're the financial capital of Canada. I mean, all the banking systems and all that stuff, that financial hub is definitely in Toronto. So I get that New York vibe a bit. Yeah. But it does have that traditional Canadian, gentler, softer part of the world than
the whole Canadians are nice.
Aren't we? We're just nice people, aren't we?
You are. You're great people. I love it. It's amazing.
And I think I met Jason, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago, and I'd have to go back and look at the first time he and I connected. It's been that long that we've had our relationship with Nulogy, so it's been a lot of fun.
I love it. That's amazing. Okay, so I'm so impressed with just your background and what you've done, and where you've worked over the last several years. So, given that context and that experience, What is the biggest challenge that you've seen, or the biggest change, sorry, that you've seen in the last 5 years? And what's your prediction? What lies ahead, Conrad?
Yeah, well, I can answer the second question easiest by saying anybody who says they know is is guessing. But let me just take, and I'll circle back around to that. What's the biggest change? I would say the biggest change by far has been how much data we're thinking. The onslaught of data, always on. I mean, we always make a joke about, calling your phone the Googleator. Like, I mean, like there is so much coming at us all the time now, and so that's on a personal level. But to drive that into what's happening in the business community, the idea of decision making used to be relatively, people had their purview, their function. That is being blown up. That is the challenge, I think, that sits as the greatest in the generic sense across the business world. How much data is coming at people, and the challenges that poses, not only for supply chain professionals, which I think is a huge challenge, but across the board. How are people dealing with the onslaught of information? And by the way, if you talk to some people, they'll tell you that not all information is good information. And so, right, like
Yeah,
it's just information. And so what's hard about that is deciphering down what's relevant information, what's important information, what's actionable information, and changing that data paradigm to come down to be really important and what people will deal with. So
what
what's
and what
coming?
and what data is there that they can't actually see that they probably should see?
What don't you know that you
Right.
should know? And that part is so there. That's the next phase, in my opinion. So we had this huge dump of data, for lack of a better word. So I would call it more the opening up of data and accessibility to data. The next phase is, what data do we use? How do we increase collaboration? And I know that's so important for Nulogy, as from a supply chain perspective. Kinaxis was looking at it inside the company. You take some of our biggest customers. If people go on to www.kinaxis.com, you can have a look at some of our customers that sit there,
Right.
and have a sense of, look, at we do great work with companies the size of Unilever or Procter and Gamble or Ford, or like what we do there is, how do we run their supply chains?
Right.
But which is a massive undertaking. Now, how do we integrate that into, the work that we're doing with you on many accounts, to take that into the contract manufacturers and the packagers? Like, that's a whole other area that is so critically important to the supply chains of our customers mutually. And
Yeah.
so I think that's probably a perfect example to say, like, how do we look at an expanded view of what the supply chain looks like, leveraging, because we're not going to ever be able to see that by ourselves, but we have relationship with Nulogy, amongst other of our solution extension partners, to find out what other data can we bring in, how can we put that in a format that's really relevant for our supply chain professionals, so that they can take actions that, and I won't try and pitch Nulogy for you, but I mean, we all know that, there are really important things that information gives them about waste and management, and looking at other markets, so that we can make that supply chain run more efficiently.
So you're totally, like, I love it. You're a great guest because you're totally leading the questions here, Conrad. Because my next thing was really, I wanted to kind of delve into this area of what the analysts are calling connected planning, and
Sure.
it's part of why I was so excited about this, our partnership, but then our discussion today, because it's really what drove me to leave manufacturing in 2018. So I embarked on my technology journey in 2018 with Infor, was kind of where I started. And it was, for me, it was all about, I had spent 20, 25 years on the manufacturing side, and I was so frustrated. I would build these beautiful plans, right? And then I would, I was a master planner for Me Johnson, and I would distribute them to our plants globally. And like a day later, somebody from procurement would call, and they would be like, oh, well, we don't have this, or this person, this company didn't make that, or whatever. And you're like, how long have you known this? Oh, I got an email a couple of days ago. And so just so frustrating because it's there, the information is there, but it wasn't getting to me when I was in planning. And so connected planning, the way that the analysts have described it for us has been this ability to decrease that friction between manufacturers and their supply base, and really giving you shared visibility to the data along with interoperability, right? This ability to
Yep.
have shared business practices. So I think for me, that's what's so exciting about the Nulogy Kinaxis partnership. But I would love to kind of hear this from the Kinaxis side, Conrad. Like what are your thoughts on connected planning and how we can work together really to benefit our joint customers?
I think of all of the things that are going to be critical drivers of supply chain success in what I would call the short and medium term, is going to be the execution of what we call concurrent planning. And yeah, our CEO had a great way of describing it. So if you pictured supply chain in the past as being a series of silos, where I think basically what you described is, from a demand side, this is the signal that we got, and this is what our inventory looks like, and here's our S&OP process, and this is our execution plan. And the second you make the plan, it's wrong, so you have to start all over again. It's in this constant cycle. I mean, I think that would be a view of the world where people had a lack of access to real-time information. And so what we describe is a concurrent plan. So picture it more in a circle as opposed to it being in a series of silos, which clearly doesn't make sense. That's going to break down. But what our design concept is there's a string running through that whole process for us. And if somebody on the supply or the demand side pulls it in a particular direction, that string needs to be able to move across the platform, so that when somebody in demand says, heads up, we have a huge demand, it's Black Friday, pick any one of the huge retail events that would trigger something to grow more quickly, and then how does that impact the people across the rest of the process? And they need to know instantly, and they need to be able to create scenarios to evaluate how they can react in real time to what is going on. So that's inside the organization. What the design intent that we're building at Kinaxis with our partners like Nulogy is to extend that outside of the internal operations of the company to areas that continue to impact the supply chain across a broader view of the world. And that's exactly what that relationship with Nulogy is going to give us, is that capability to go into the contract manufacturers and packagers and say, okay, where else can we get signals that are going to dramatically impact that capability? Where is their inventory? Where are their roadblocks? People always use the example of a ship crashing in the Suez Canal. It's interesting and it's graphic and it has sort of impact that people can see. But the reality is there are events that happen across supply chains every day that maybe aren't quite as impactful as that, but have the same dramatic impact on what is going on in the supply chain. And people need to know what that is. And smart people need to be able to react very quickly by using scenario capabilities that exist inside of Maestro, which is the product that we sell, and use that technology to be able to give really good signal and good information back to the whole organization to make decisions in real time. And that's that change, that instant change, recognizing the problem, putting notice across the board, and then being able to make a real-time decision very quickly. It's that agility that is really going to change the way that supply chains will work in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because there's been multiple, analysts and researchers that have written on it. One that I follow is Laura Cesari from Supply Chain Insights, and she's talked about how, like, if you can just reduce the amount of lag to make a decision by even just a few hours, it's millions of dollars in savings on an annualized basis. And that's what I think you're talking about, is that the data's all there. It's just in all these separate silos and within separate businesses. And we need to bring those businesses closer together, so that they can make better decisions together and they can reduce both the error in that signal, right, and the delay in just receiving the data that you need to make a decision.
Couldn't agree more. I'm a big fan of Laura, by the way. In fact, I just did an industry presentation with her at our marketing event a few weeks ago. Forward thinker, really smart, on the ball, and she would describe it exactly as you did. And these are some of the areas where we get her feedback to help us take it in and help us drive some of the changes that we continue to make inside what we do. But that is it. It's like, as in the old world, your plan's already dead the second you built it. If that's true as a concept, I think that's probably true. I mean, it's certainly going to iterate and change as you're going through. How do you continue to drive the real-time changes that are necessary? And the savings aren't, $25, right? Like these have millions of dollars of impact across an ecosystem, particularly for our largest customers. And having that flexibility and capability to suss out what are the real signals, what are the ones that you can make changes to, and make sure that everybody in the ecosystem knows exactly how to do it. Massive implications.
Yeah, it's as somebody that was a planner for many years, if you have planning in your title, you're pretty much always wrong. And the only job that might get more press for being wrong is like a meteorologist, right?
Right.
And they're doing the same thing, right? They're looking at the data, they're making a prediction. They're probably going to be wrong. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
The poor meteorologists spend half of their time, and most people don't really understand the science that they're using, and they're saying it's 40% chance. Well, I said 40%. I didn't, but it's
exactly. Exactly. I love it.
hard.
So I didn't tell our audience that they could send in questions. So if you have questions, comments, feedback, make sure you're using the comments section because I do try to follow it. So Wilfred, I love that you hustle in the morning. I'm not really sure what that means and what the comment was for, but I appreciate you sending us a comment. So if anybody has any questions or comments, don't feel free to interject. So it's interesting as we've talked about this, one of the terms that I like to use like in this context is this ability to create virtual vertical integration. And I like this term because I came into manufacturing in the late 90s, right? When we were, by the way, de-verticalizing. Like that was like the first 2 years at Whirlpool, it was all about getting rid of things that were not our core competency. And I think what we've learned over the last 30 years is that it's great to have somebody that really concentrates in that area, but you really want them to still act like they're part of your business, right? You really want to be, tightly coupled with them because it can really help you engineer your ecosystem. And I know one of the things that you've talked about is like moving beyond traditional manufacturing and distribution models and into kind of ecosystems. What are your thoughts on the challenges and the benefits here?
It's such a huge question. I mean, I'm in the middle of a 2-day meeting with one of the largest SIs on the planet, who are here today, about 6 people strong, and we're working on building out our planning for the next 2 years. And the word that keeps on coming forward with us is this digital transformation, and which is a bit of a buzzy sort of thing to say, buzzword 101. But having said that, what does the digital transformation mean? And it's really interesting to me, having worked across a broad array of the areas that exist inside the digital transformation. You could argue it started with ERP, and then it moved into CRM and HCM and enterprise content management. But I love the fact that supply chain is at the very, very top right now of that priority of the digital transformation. And so what that means to me is there's an awakening about the value that supply chain means across that broad digital transformation. And when you talk to CIOs, when you talk to our partner industry leadership, we talk to all of those people across that broad ecosystem, everybody today is talking about supply chain. And my bellwether for that is that I'm blessed to have both my parents around. My mother is 92, my dad's 88. They actually, before what do you do? Like, enterprise content management was like, but they hear supply chain every single day on the news, the impact of supply chains. And really, we are the structure of humanity. Like from the very beginning, it was supply chain that was the most important thing, whether it was sticks and stones to get fish and meat and on the table to obviously it's much more complex world today. That ecosystem has now come to the very, very top and the highest priority for most companies right now. They've got to get this right, whether it's for ecology purposes, whether it's for financial purposes. All of these things have become so much more relevant to the organizations that exist. And so as climate change becomes important, all of these areas now drive into what that looks like. So the ecosystem for supply chain used to be, look at all these people that are sitting there, building a plan, to this plan is critical to the success and growth and survival of our company. What a huge transformation in what supply chain represents for our customers.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's interesting. One of the things that I've seen recently, I think it was one of the professors out of the University of Tennessee talking about like you can break this down into fundamental buckets as well. And so she was talking about how just even on the contracting side, we used to have these, kind of straightforward, like, this is the piece price, these are the requirements, like it very much kind of arm's length discussions
Sure.
with suppliers. And now, like, because of the data that we have available, because of the information that we have available, we need to have like more robust, more dynamic and rich discussions and collaboration and really shared benefits, right? You can't just swing a really big bat at your supply base. You have to be able to work together. And so for me, like, I've been on this journey in the collaboration space for about 5 years now. And I am finally starting to see the fruits of all that evangelism, where these really big companies are like, yeah, like, we need to make sure that we're bringing our suppliers along the journey with us, and they need to be part of the discussion, which I just, it's wonderful to see, right? Mutual benefits for everybody, because like you, I think that supply chain, we're the ones that are going to raise all the ships, right? We're the ones that make the pie bigger to the benefit of the world. And maybe it's just because I'm getting older, I'm much more mission, or like I.
No, I actually think you're bang on. I think that the relevance of supply chain to the survival of the planet becomes apparent now, like I said, for a bunch of reasons. Whether it's climate change or something else that exists inside your thought process, it doesn't really matter. The capability to bring things in the most efficient, least wasteful, whatever other adjective you want to use to describe why you're doing it, it's really relevant. And I was reminded when you said you came from Infor. We've just signed a strategic partnership with Infor, which I think is really important because, as a huge ERP player and one of the largest in that space, they were evaluating some of the key areas that they needed to help them grow their business, and identified by their partners and their practitioners as an area of great opportunity for them to grow their business. Supply chain was at the top of the list, was number one. And so you start to see that even in areas that you wouldn't traditionally align as supply chain practitioners, you start to see, hey, we need this to help us address the issues that our customers are trying to deal with. And we've got a great relationship with Infor. It's only been kicked off now for a couple of months, but we've been working together for a couple of years to build out what that was going to look like. And they had a choice of people that they could pick to build that out, and they went to Gartner, and they went on the Gartner Magic Quadrant and saw Kinaxis there for 11 years in a row in the top right quadrant, and said, I think that's the one we should be in.
Right.
We have a great relationship, great symmetry, and we're thrilled to have that partnership. But it was predicated on them identifying supply chain as the number one area they needed to fix.
I love it. That's amazing. Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
Great company. I know that you're going to have a lot of fun, working. I still have a ton of friends and peers there. So we got a comment from Derek. Derek, I cannot agree with you more that so many people think about supply chain in terms of reducing cost versus, generating economic value and as a commercial engine. And I think companies that are the most successful really understand that supply chain does both, right? Supply chain allows you to create new products, find new partners, deliver, products to people that you never even knew needed your product. I mean, there's so much there that, yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for the comment.
It's a great question, Derek. And what I like about it is your realization that it is true that there was the people who understood the value of supply chain in the past had a huge competitive advantage over others. I think that that's passed across now to become much more relevant across a much wider array of companies. And that value realization piece that you're talking about isn't just how much do we have in inventory and how much supply do we have to leverage, and no, this is a critical value enabler for the growth of the company, and well leveraged and well utilized is an extremely powerful tool. And it's interesting because we talk to companies that are in the same industry. They don't have a really high level of interest in sharing the secrets of their supply chain because it's a competitive advantage now. They understand that everybody is fixing their supply chains and making them more optimal, but we need to make sure that we're spreading that message across a wider array. And that part has been really passionately enjoyable for me.
I love it. I love it. So, we're getting close to the end of our half hour. I told
I
you.
can't believe it's gone by so fast. You said
I
that.
know.
All right, no. Oh
So
my God.
what's on the agenda for you and for Kinaxis through the rest of 2025? I mean, we're almost halfway through the year.
I know. I can't believe that either. I would say as a company, the big transition for us. Now, this will be a shocker to everybody on the call today. Is leveraging AI. We have been a very strong proponent of using the tools that we have, our artificial intelligence tools. Supply.ai, Demand.ai are two brands that sit inside, or two products that sit inside our overall brand. We are passionate about it, and the algorithms that sit inside our tools will be very much AI focused, and you're going to start to see with agents, agentic AI, and as we continue to grow that all the way through the evolution of our product, you're going to start to see a huge investment in that space from our side. But it's all in the leveraging of that foundation that we've built over the last 40 years, which is creating that concurrent tool set, that concurrent platform. And what we're doing now is broadening that into an execution mode. And that's why it's great to have a relationship with our partners like Nulogy, because we're starting to take those signals and building them into the tool set. And we couldn't have done that before if we didn't have that AI platform that sits in the foundation to leverage that growth for those relationships.
I love it. I love it. It's amazing. How can folks get in touch with you, Conrad?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Conrad Mandala. You'll find me there. You can have all of my information. It's a public site. I'm also available on our Kinaxis.com website. You'll be able to find me there in our partner organization. And I'd love to chat with anybody who's got any thoughts or ideas on how we can work better together.
I love it. I love it. So for me, it's LinkedIn as well. Although if you're part of Supply Chain Leaders in Action, I will be in Arizona in June and would love to have a conversation. If you're not, send me a LinkedIn and I'll tell you about it. If you happen to be at Gartner Barcelona this week, you can actually catch Jason. He's in Barcelona. He's been sending us early morning Slack messages all week. So that's been fun as well.
I'm sure he did that after one of his bike rides or long runs or hikes or something before he got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's good to be a triathlete, isn't it?
Yeah, he's in great shape.
I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out this morning, this afternoon, whatever time zone you're in, to our show producer, Let's Talk Supply Chain, and encourage you to take a look at the wonderful work that they're doing to build up supply chain communities. So if you're struggling to find a community of like-minded professionals like Conrad and I, where you can level up your network, learn about best practices from experts, look no further. Sarah and her team at Let's Talk Supply Chain have created the secret Society of Supply Chain to provide a safe space. It's really unique. They offer opportunities for everyone to connect and grow in kind of 3 different areas. The supply chainers, the women in supply chain, of which I have been a part of, and the creative room. So do yourself a favor, head over to the secret society of supply chain.com to explore which community was made for you. I also need to thank our show sponsor and my employer, Nulogy, an innovator in supply chain technology focused on decreasing the friction between suppliers and customers to everyone's benefit through collaboration and synchronization. And on that note, we must say goodbye, but I'm hopeful that you'll tune in next month for some more Supply Chain Unfiltered.